What's going on, everyone? This is a beginner guide to strength training. So as an athlete, you can use strength training to help you get to your goals and create adaptations in the body. That is all that we're doing with training as a whole, but with strength training, we can use that to improve our vertical, improve our speed, improve our overall force and power, change the direction. So the things that we're looking to see on the court, we can use strength training to help develop those exact things, all right? How do we do this? Where do we start? That's what we're going to be talking about today. The whole idea, though, in the premise of training, everything that I do when it comes to performance training is to create adaptation in the body. So let's take vertical jump and a squat. If we're trying to improve our vertical jump, and this isn't the only way to do it, I'm just using this as an example. If we force ourselves to squat heavier or with more speed or the mix of both, then we are requiring that adaptation from our body, which then will result in our body being able to do more and thus explode harder in terms of a vertical jump or anything like that. You've probably seen the videos online of the worker who can take a can of something and throw it up super easily or whatever it is. I saw one with like propane tanks. The guy just took it with one hand, threw it, and it landed perfectly every time. So when we're looking at things like that, that's not just something that anybody can go do. You can't just go do it because you choose to. I can't just go do it because I choose to. But that individual, usually they don't even look like they should be able to do that, but because of countless time and time again doing that, their body has now adapted and it gives them the ability to do that movement. Now, because somebody like that is super explosive with their upper body and can do that movement, does that also mean that they jump crazy high and they're the best athlete we've ever seen? Well, the answer to that is no, but because they've put their body in this demand, they've demanded something from their body so many times, now they're able to see the adaptation that it was that they were looking for from the start place to get them to where they want to be. So now the question becomes, where do you start? How do you go about it to properly as an athlete to get what it is that you're looking for? Well, and that kind of leads us to your first stop, which is, what are you looking for? What adaptation are you wanting to see? And if you can answer that question and you can figure out, here's the exact adaptation. I need to change direction faster. I need to be stronger in my movements with my upper body. I need to not get knocked off the ball when I'm trying to make a move. I need to jump higher, run faster. Whatever it is that you're looking to do is the direction that you need to go with that strength training. So strength training we can do in a bunch of different ways. We can develop strength, right? We can develop force and explosiveness. We can develop overall size. We can develop muscle endurance. We can change up the ways that we're lifting and the ways we're going about things to get the adaptation that we're looking for. So if you answer that question of, here's the adaptation I'm looking for, then you can navigate the next process. So before we move on to all of those in exact details, I want to talk about the pillars of training that we're going to want to look for when it comes to strength training. First off, we want to train our entire body. We don't just want to train and focus on one area only and neglect the rest of the body. So we want to look at a full body approach. With that, the percentage at which we work one part of the body in comparison to the other can change, but we want to make sure that we're getting some training in all the body. And so we're going to think about three different things. We're going to think about legs, all right? So what we can do with our legs, which is going to be just their whole thing in and of themselves, right? And then we're going to look at push and we're going to look at pull. So pushing is going to be more chest, shoulders, triceps. Pulling is going to be more back and biceps. So that push and pull is a protagonist and antagonist approach. So your protagonist being the muscle that you're working and the antagonist being the opposite muscle that would do the opposite function. So let's take the arm, for example. My protagonist in a bicep curl would be curling my arm to me. The bicep is the muscle that's working, so that is my protagonist. If I wanted to do the opposite and extend the arm, I'm going to be working my antagonist in that case, which would be the tricep. So when we look at that, the push and pull, they separate those movements. So if I'm doing a push movement, then the exact opposite, the antagonist of that would be a pull movement, right? So when we're looking at our upper body, if we look at it as push and pull, then we're going to be hitting majority of the muscle groups that we're looking to hit throughout our week, because we want to be able to hit at least every muscle group once throughout the week. And then again, that's depending on the percentages that you're wanting to hit everything at, okay? So once we've figured out the adaptation that we're looking for, we need to figure out how do we break this up? How do we create the workouts that we're wanting in order to achieve the goals that we've set in place or the adaptations we're looking to see? So if we look at this, we're going to just break it into 3 separate pillars. We're going to go strength, hypertrophy, and then endurance. So if you're like, man, I really want to jump higher, like vertical is my thing. Well, is vertical a very slow movement? No. Is vertical a fast movement? Yes. Does vertical take a lot of strength? Yes. Does it take just minimal amounts of strength and it's more about the fluidity of the body? No. So when we're looking, we answer these questions and that can kind of get us in the direction we're looking for. So let's look at the pillars of strength, hypertrophy, and endurance. When we look at strength, that's about getting stronger, right? Which is really most of our goal when it comes to stuff. Hypertrophy is going to be more size, getting bigger, so increasing the size and the volume of our muscle. And then our last one, endurance, is going to be increasing the duration that our muscles can produce force over a long period of time, okay? With most athletic endeavors, we're going to be looking at the strength side, some hypertrophy depending on who you are and what you need. The endurance side is going to be necessary, but maybe less of our focus when it comes to the strength training because we're going to get the endurance side from playing the sport itself. So let's start with strength. When we're looking at strength, how do we need to think of strength? Well, we need to think of it in a few ways. And again, it's back to adaptation. Depending on our sport, if we just need really, really, really strong muscles and that's it, we don't have to worry about how explosive they are or anything like that, then we need to be focusing on how much weight we're lifting. And when we do that, we want to keep our rep range lower and our set range higher. So the 3 to 5 principle, I've made a video on this before, is a great one to go about when you're looking at developing overall strength. So if you're interested in, I just need strength, the 3 to 5 video is going to be the thing, how to develop strength as an athlete. That's going to be the video for you, right? The flip side of that is I need to be explosive. This isn't just about how strong I can be, but I have to be strong while still being explosive. Well, now we get to strength, speed, and speed, strength. Strength, speed being strength with a higher priority, and then speed coming next. So we're lifting a heavy weight and we're trying to see how fast we can do it, which means we sacrifice just a hair of the weight for the speed. So we're sacrificing more speed, but we're still trying to make the movement quick. Speed, strength is the exact opposite. It's speed is our number 1 priority, strength is our second. So we would set that speed parameter from the bottom to the top of my squat. I want to make that movement in 0.4 seconds, which would be a good recommendation if we're trying to find this speed strength zone. And if that's the case, then I'm going to have to sacrifice some weight from what my max would be in order to achieve that time. So we're sacrificing weight for speed. The other one, we're sacrificing speed for strength. Both of those and a mix of both of those is ideal when we're looking at really developing our athletic abilities. But as we go, we have to decide what adaptation do I need, and we need a mix of both of those, okay? Again, with speed strength, that doesn't mean we always have to do really heavy. Speed strength could also be a maximal speed, right? We could do a squat or we could do just a max height jump where it's just our body weight. So that would be super low level on the weight, super high level on the speed, up to that like 190%, right? And then we can do an assisted jump and make that go up to 100 to 110%, and then our weight being down low because we're taking away all of our body weight, right? So we look at strength, speed, and speed, strength, and that kind of gives us our go-ahead for the direction we need to go in for the adaptation that we're looking for, right? Depending on your sport, it's going to change what your focus should be. We should do both of those, but if you're a football lineman and you want to be really explosive, but strength is probably a little bit more important than the explosive. Both are important, right? But if we're really weak but just crazy explosive, we're not going to be that great as a lineman. Whereas a basketball player, if you're really strong and you're a little bit less on the speed side of explosive, that's probably not going to be very good because basketball is really speed dominant in that way. Your first step, your vertical, things of that nature. All right, so that gives us the overview of strength. Now let's talk about our hypertrophy, so muscle size. How big are our muscles? When should we use this? We should use this whenever your muscle size is hindering your abilities. When we look at strength training, we're going to have some muscle growth inevitably because we are getting stronger and we're lifting more weights. But there's ways to optimize your size growth, which is what we're about to talk about. But you need to decide first if that's something that is hindering you or if it's a non-issue or if you're just doing it because you want to look good. And if that's the case, then I would say focus on performance before we focus on looks. If you perform incredibly and you're amazing at what you do, then increasing size for looks might have a direct correlation to decreasing your overall performance, which you obviously don't want. You're an athlete, you need to be at peak performance. So when we're looking at size, volume is your key, okay? How much volume can we do for specific muscle groups to get those muscle groups to grow, to develop size? So when we're looking at rep range on this one, we're gonna be looking at 8 or more reps, so 8 to 30 really is gonna be our rep range, and then our sets are gonna be moderate on the sets, so depending on our rep range, right, we can go 3 to 4 sets, something like that. But the idea is volume here. So if you're really like, man, I need to grow the size of my biceps, well, we probably want to do a good amount of sets, not sets and reps, but a good amount of reps and sets. But then throughout the week, we want to do a lot, so our volume needs to be higher. So we might train that part of our body 2 times in the week, rather than what we might do is 1 if we're not really too worried about that. I mean, could get crazy and train 3 times a week. I don't know if I would do that as an athlete because you have a lot of other stuff going on and you have a lot of other performance parameters that you're trying to meet. So make sure that you're responsible. But if we're doing more volume, which means more reps, so if we're doing our 20 reps of 3 sets, that's a lot of volume, right? Even if we're doing 10 of 3, that's going to be more than 3 sets of 4 reps like we would for strength training. The idea with that is our strength training, we need to be doing more and more explosive, which means we need to rest and make sure that we can still keep that weight. Whereas hypertrophy, we don't need nearly as long of a rest and we want to see more volume. So the idea is getting that body to failure where the muscle's on fire, it burns, you're struggling through your final few reps, and then we're going to be getting that adaptation that we're looking for. The muscle endurance side being our last side. When we look at muscle endurance, we just want to be sure that we are getting a vast number of repetitions in. So these are like over 100 reps of stuff, which we're not, when we're looking at like our biceps and our triceps and our chest, we're not looking for muscle endurance on these, right? Most of our muscle endurance is going to come from doing the sport itself. We could do something like battle ropes and get muscle endurance because we're going to be doing a vast number of reps, but even those are a little bit more explosive of a movement. We could be doing swimming stuff for endurance. We could be doing biking, running, things like that. But when we're looking at our major, like you think of, I'm going to the gym to work something, muscle endurance, we're going to be doing so many reps that it's going to be even more beneficial, especially for the vast number of athletes. If you're a marathon runner, if you're doing all that, you need to run miles, right? Which is training for your muscle endurance. But our goal in the weight room isn't necessarily go crazy. If you are trying to keep your muscle endurance, we might not look at developing as much size. So if you're looking to go run an Ironman, or you're wanting to run a marathon, or you're a swimmer, you might not go into the weight room and lift for crazy strength. Now, I would argue if you're a swimmer, to get off the platform, you need to be explosive, right? So we need to have that explosive portion, and depending on the distance at which you swim, you might really focus on strength training, but we're not going to want to focus on how much, how heavy, all that stuff. We might do more reps with a lighter weight. For the most part, though, this video being more about strength and hypertrophy. So if you have more questions about strength and hypertrophy, please comment those below. We've kind of covered a beginner guide to strength training. I'm going to make another video as well as a beginner guide to strength training that goes into a little bit more detail of here are the movements you should be doing, here are the exercises you should be doing, and then we've already talked about sets and reps and the adaptation that you're looking for from your body. So if you pair those two together, you're going to be on your way to figuring out exactly how do I need to program my workouts, what exercises do I need to do, and how many sets and reps should I do as an athlete. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, comment below other videos that you would like to see. We appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.